When I saw the trailer to the newest Disney live-action effort, my first initial thought was, here we go again. Yet another beautiful handcrafted animated film drowned in CGI sludge. And yes, admittedly, that pun's intended. I wasn't exactly wrong in my initial assessment, but this new Little Mermaid does have a few things going for it while still falling prey to the critical flaws of all these low-effort adaptations. Most people here are familiar with this story, and little here has changed. Ariel is still this underwater mermaid princess who dreams of life on the surface. She trades her voice to a sea witch in exchange for 3 days on land, with the catch being she has to get the prince to kiss her before the sunset on the last day. Otherwise, she would transform back into a mermaid and belong to the witch. Except in this one, there's this extra catch that for some reason, Ariel can't remember that she needs to get the prince to kiss her, which I don't know why the makers decided to put this in here. Maybe they thought that as a girl as pretty as Ariel, she wouldn't have a problem stealing a kiss, or maybe they thought it would come off as creepy, but what it really did was it kind of just took away any agency from Ariel in the second act. And the original worked fine with the reasoning of the prince trying to save himself for the girl of his dreams. Essentially, Ariel had become her own biggest competition. It didn't need all this overcomplication. But that's, out of the way. It's hardly the biggest issue of the film. The biggest problem is this, like the last handful of Disney live-action films, is unbendingly loyal to the source, to a fault. For the life of me, I'm never going to understand the appeal of these pointless, near shot-for-shot remakes of other films. And this goes far beyond the Disney library for me, with the likes of Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, or Pinocchio. This includes the likes of other films such as Vince Vaughn's Psycho. This was literally a shot-for-shot remake, with new actors and just a slicker coat of paint. The Disney remakes are barely a cut above that. Why is it that we want to see the exact same movie again, but with ugly CGI, worse voice performances, cringy new music numbers that don't fit the original tone, and just enough bad or head-scratching new scenes to pad out the runtime? Speaking of which, what is so wrong with an hour-and-a-half runtime that needs to be ballooned to 2 hours? If the story is just an hour and a half, then let it be that long. We don't need to have hip-hop songs that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote on like a napkin during his lunch break and then just said, good enough. I mean, not that I really blame him. He's done some great work for Disney in the past with Moana and Encanto, but this is just, a thankless task with him trying to make new songs that have to stand up to the classics. But these live-action remakes are kind of just so surface level. A novelty that never rises above the question of what would these animated films look like if they were real? And is that really such an interesting question? I guess so, because, it, along with nostalgia, keeps bringing millions of dollars to the box office. To me, though, these live-action films can't escape the feeling of a cynical, hollow version of the originals with no passion behind them. There is little new to grab onto. It's got a been-there-done-that feel that bogs it down and just begs the comparison of how it was done in 1989, where an army of artists worked to draw each frame with unique style and character, where the musical scenes just had this spark to them that translates poorly into live action. And some will say you shouldn't compare it to the original, and you should let it stand on its own and be its own thing. And fair enough, I'm game to do that if they are. But these are not made to stand on their own. They are made to play to the lowest common denominator of nostalgia, with any creativity being siphoned out in favor of the familiar. There's a reason The Jungle Book still stands as one of the few good translations to live action, because it was willing to be its own thing, to add new elements, let new actors have their own take on characters, and bring in its own tone and style. And the very few times that The Little Mermaid embraces this, it actually does come alive, most notably in the second act when Ariel makes it to shore. The movie really kind of gets more brave as it tries to flesh out the character of Eric and the romance between the two leads. Is it some amazingly written romance? Well, no, it's pretty by the numbers, but it works and the actors have good chemistry, which is half the battle. It made me at least sit up out of my popcorn-covered seat and pay attention. Finally something new and interesting, a well-needed injection of creative freedom, before we go, right back to the third act where it's a shot-for-shot recreation of the stuff we've already watched. And the cast really are carrying this film. There was a lot of hullabaloo, right? Yeah, I think that's it. When they cast actress Hailey Bailey in the lead role, with the race of the character being swapped. But also, I guess, who cares? I mean, mermaids don't exist. This isn't Cleopatra, some real person they've changed the race on. Also, I genuinely do not think the makers cast her as some sort of grand diversity agenda, whatever that may be. Bailey is one of the best things in the movie. She's got that wide-eyed innocence of the role down. More importantly, she's got the voice. One of the most important elements of this character is that she relies on this great voice through the early scenes and then later loses it. Bailey has the pipes to carry those big power ballads, which is rare in these remakes, as you often get an actress like, say, Emma Watson, who's cast and has to be auto-tuned to make up for her inability to hold a note. Bailey here is able to do a serviceable job with the physicality of mute scenes, but also hold up to the original music performances by legendary voice actress Jodie Benson. I think she was the right person for the role, and did manage to capture the spirit of this character. And that's not to say that the movie doesn't have some misplaced diversity attempts, like a small island somehow looking like a meeting of the United Nations, or every one of Ariel's sisters being a different race. I mean, do they not understand the implications of that? I mean, it's got to be that King Trident just got around, right? But overall, I'd say the strong point of the movie was in the cast in general. Javier Bardem makes a good, strong silent Triton. Daveed Diggs, with his theatrical background, made him able to imitate the original voice actor for Sebastian well, even if he kind of didn't bring anything of his own to the role. And newcomer Jonah Hauer-King tried to add a little more dimension to Prince Eric. Though the whole time I was just sitting there wondering if he was related to Patrick Dempsey. He's not, but he does have those looks. The idea of making him adopted is again questionable, as he is still heir to the throne, and I'm 99% sure that's not how monarchies work. Though the real standout here is shockingly Melissa McCarthy as Ursula, who nails the music numbers and brings the animated character to life. It's a reminder that she is a good actress when she is actually trying. The computer-generated characters, though, leave a lot to be desired. Again, animation can bring in character designs that don't need to exactly mirror reality. It can give characters unique dimensions and even human-like features to make them feel more expressive and relatable. They don't feel the need to make these photorealistic creatures, and as a result, avoid CGI monstrosities like Flounder, where it looks like something that should be put out of its misery. Or they can make Sebastian actually have expressions instead of being a vacant shell. And it's not as bad here as in The Lion King. But these characters without these expressions, they then have to rely entirely on vocal performances, and it makes them feel distant and personality-free. And it didn't have to be this way. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 just came out, and it made people cry over a CGI raccoon. There is a way that they could have found a happy medium. And as far as drowning in CGI, the movie doesn't exactly look bad, but it doesn't look, amazing either. They are trying for that one-to-one translation to live action, so if that's what you're looking for, that's what you're gonna get. And you'll likely be happy with the results. They don't really do anything all that new or interesting with the underwater setting, and we have had a big glut of these films as of late. It doesn't have the loony production design of James Wan's Aquaman, the naturalistic oppressive darkness of Wakanda Forever, or capture the realistic fantasy of Avatar 2. It's just kind of, undefined and honestly a little empty. To wrap up, it's not like it's a terrible movie, and people who just want to see the cartoon they love brought to life will probably leave feeling satisfied. But to me, it just feels terribly pointless, and I left the theater feeling like I got nothing out of it. It's just so afraid to be its own thing that it just won't get off the familiar. It's a movie I've already seen, but just done worse. And frankly, I could have saved myself the time and just watched the classic again. But those are just my thoughts on the new Little Mermaid. If you like this review, please like and subscribe. We will be going back to some more historical stuff soon with some 1910s Sherlock, so be sure to subscribe for that, and we will see you next time. Keep those reels turning. Thank you.